Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Midday Market Monitor. In today's video, we're going to monitor the markets. We're going to take a look at, hey, is Wealthfront, maybe a name that not a lot of you guys pay attention to, and to be honest, neither do I, is down 18.5%. Yikes. I just read Devin Ryan's report yesterday where he believed that this name was, slowly building an audience of long-term investors, helping them with mortgages and robo-advisors and helping them build wealth over time. Their average customer is high net worth, high FICO, great customer. But $10.28 stock after IPOing on December 12th for essentially $14, breaking almost up to $15 a share, getting cut by nearly 30%. Yikes. All right. We'll have a read into why that was. I'll try to get a report up on that name, but we're going to be looking at a couple different things. I want to watch a couple videos on, new data center initiatives, if potentially Microsoft's own Brad Smith has anything to say about this, if there's potential that we can watch. But let's jump into that first, and then I will get the Wealthfront numbers up for you guys as well, because I want to know why the heck this company is bleeding out. You guys know I like some fintech names and willing to take some risks on some ones that get oversold. So we'll have a listen to that after this.
Welcome back. Microsoft announcing a new initiative to offset the impact of rising energy costs tied to its AI build-out, promising the company's data centers will not increase electricity prices for local communities. Microsoft President Brad Smith joins us now in the First on CNBC interview, along with our Eamon Javers. Hey, Eamon.
Hey, good morning to you, Carl. We're here at the brand new Milken Center on Pennsylvania Avenue in downtown Washington, D.C. And as you say, I am joined by Microsoft President Brad Smith. And Brad, you guys have released 5 core principles now for your AI data center build-outs. Give us a sense of what those are and what you guys are trying to accomplish here.
Well, first, I think it reflects the fact that AI and cloud leadership today requires many things. One of them is sustaining the confidence of local communities so we can buy land, build data centers, and operate them. And what we pledge today is 5 things addressing 5 issues that are important to local communities across the country: electricity, water, jobs, taxes, and skills. We spell out what we'll do in every community where we buy, build, and own our data centers.
Is this an attempt to sort of stave off political blowback from these data centers? You get complaints from local communities, they're draining all of our water, they're raising our power prices, these things make a lot of noise. Is this a way for Microsoft to say, we hear you and we're going to do something about that?
I think it reflects both a tradition and a culture we've long pursued as a company to be, I'll say, civically responsible, to be a good neighbor, but it also reflects the issues of the day. And when we go to local communities today, in contrast to say a year or two ago, people do have questions. They're pointed questions. What does this mean for our electricity price? What does it mean for our water supply? What does it really mean? Who's really going to fill the jobs that are created here? And I think it's really incumbent on us as a company, and probably for the entire tech sector, to raise the bar, lean in, show people what we're going to do, and ensure that our deeds match our words.
We saw the president posting on social media about this last night. Maybe he broke the embargo on this news that you guys released this morning. But what have your conversations been with the White House about this? The president said he wants AI companies, tech companies, to pay their own way, pay their own tab when it comes to electricity in particular.
Well, I think we've had a very good dialogue with the White House and the entire administration, really going back to Inauguration Day last year. And we really rely on their leadership at the federal level, especially Chris Wright in the Energy Department, Doug Burgum in Interior, and across the government. But I think they are also quite properly pushing the tech sector, including us, to do right by local communities, to ensure that we pay for our electricity costs and don't leave consumers picking up the tab. And that's one significant part of what we're doing today, providing that kind of reassurance to the public where we are operating these.
Now, what's interesting about this is I'm perfectly okay with this, honestly. I think that there might be ways to play this in terms of Bloom Energy or something like this that could benefit from some of the larger names ending up having to find their own ways to increase their energy supply. So Bloom is up 5.2% on the day, now 144. If we were to look back even not too long ago, this company was trading at about $75 a share in the last month, December 17th, to now nearly doubling that to 145. It's a $34 billion company now, which compared to their overall earnings is a pretty steep jump. We're at a PE ratio of 1,800, price to earnings of 1,800 times. That said, obviously, if the administration, I was talking about this yesterday, if they are pushing for something, you're going to see large changes in company earnings based on what those initiatives are. Okay, so if that's credit cards, you're going to see companies hurt on their credit cards. If you see them saying, hey, these companies are going to need to find their own energy sources, then the companies that can supply those energy sources directly to the data centers, like Bloom, for example, would obviously benefit from a headline like that. Now we just need to see if something gets signed there. Tanner, do you invest in Burke B? No, I do all my own investing. You know, I like Warren. I like Greg Abel, but I'll handle it from here, guys. Thank you so much. It's more fun that way. What's VG's PE? I don't think you want me to even tell you. I bet it's low, low, low. Yeah, 9. 9.4 times. A measly, what is that, 0.5% of Bloom Energies? That's hilarious. That is funny. That's very funny. Okay. So, SoFi is heading back up. Well, I've got some news on SoFi. The great and powerful Vadim on X ended up, actually, I was going to talk about, hold on, pause the Meta, or pause the SoFi stuff. I wanted to talk about Meta really quick. Meta Compute, we talked about yesterday, but this could also be a reason for some of these new initiatives. Not only are they calling for tens of gigawatts of data centers, a single gigawatt data center cost them roughly $50 to $60 billion to set up. Okay. So then for a company like Meta to say, hey, we're planning on building tens, that's, 500 billion, 1 trillion, 1.5 trillion, $2 trillion worth of data centers that are taking up gigawatts of power, and then hundreds of gigawatts or more into the future. It's how we plan to engineer, invest, and partner to build this infrastructure will become a strategic advantage, yada, yada, yada. But I think this is two things. One, scaring the American public. And then also two, Zuck saying, guys, you guys are selling our stock because we have a measly amount of capital expenditures. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better in terms of the amount of spend, because the opportunity that we see ahead of ourselves is just so unbelievably enormous. I think that's bullish Nebius. I think that's bullish Google. I think that's bullish Nvidia and Broadcom, AMD, every single chip manufacturer. I think it's bullish the energy names. I think it's bullish the QXOs and all of the building and construction companies. It's just great for economies in general that spending is happening, assuming that what we're spending on doesn't necessarily kill jobs and yada, yada, yada. That's up for debate. Okay. If you ask your uncle, he'll say it's going to kill all jobs. And then if you ask the people who are actually in this space, they say it's making those people more efficient. So who knows? I truly don't know. All right. I'm not seeing anyone lose their jobs. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about how their jobs are going to be lost. And I've heard that last year, and I heard that the year before, and I heard that the year before then. And they're always saying it's going to be next year. So who knows? I am bullish Meta. is it bullish Meta? I think that I don't know if that news in particular is bullish Meta. I think that Meta is an extremely fast-growing, high-margin business, and Zuckerberg has not steered this company wrong too many times. Okay? And the times where they've pulled back on these things, Reality Labs, some of the metaverse spend, we're seeing layoffs 30% here, 10% there. Like, they're correcting their overall amount of spend, and that's fine. Like, Amazon tried to make a cell phone one time, the Fire Phone, and then they went, oh, you know what? We're going to back off of that. Doesn't necessarily make it a bad company because they take shots. Because the shots that Meta lands, the shots that Amazon lands, end up being, you know, multi-billion-dollar business lines for them. So I'm going to say let Zuckerberg take his shots. Okay. When is PayPal too cheap to ignore? I don't know. And yeah. I've tried playing this name in so many different ways. It keeps getting cheaper. But yeah. Every time I look at this company, it looks great. Like, I like it every time. And then they somehow come out and then they don't revise earnings down, but then they'll put something out that's just like not as bullish as what I expected. And like, you know, Alex Chris, whenever he came running onto the scene, he said, we are not a value company. We are a growth company. And then they're guiding for like under 5% growth. It's like, okay, I'd rather hold Coca-Cola. Even though this is much cheaper than Coca-Cola. But like, you get what I'm saying. Like, you can say one thing and then what you're doing and how you're actually achieving those goals, two different things. But yeah, I do think that there's a possibility that it just becomes a massive acquisition target. Will says PayPal can get to $39. Why that number, Will? That seems very specific. Okay. Yeah, and there's a bunch of companies like this. Adobe, Salesforce, all of these names. I've never done well trying to bottom feed. And in fact, I've done well doing quite the opposite. Okay. CFO should just quit being negative. That's the issue. That is not the issue. Okay. Let's go back to talking about SoFi though, because I did want to talk about SoFi. SoFi, on the other hand, as Vadim has pointed out on X, is hiring. And hiring so much so that Vadim couldn't put it all on one page. He always puts the job listings on X. But this is by far the most that he's seen. So that's quite interesting. Why do you hire? Do you hire because you're in a bad position? Or do you hire whenever you're in a good, strong position? Let's go ahead. I'm actually going to lower this, but this is from Vadim, but I just need to zoom in a little bit closer, but you can see his account right here. He's a great account to follow on X. Okay. Only 2,300 followers. Please go follow Vadim, man. He has been a part of this community for an extremely long time and puts up way better due diligence than half the people that are trying to pump up their X accounts for donos and everything. Okay. SoFi, new positions here. What essentially we're seeing is a lot of AI names, underwriting names, data analysis names, member growth, measurement and ads. It's essentially across the board. They're just seeing like a great mix across the board. Okay. Like, this is a lot of companies then, or a lot of job listings. And the way to separate the colors, what he has here is that white was here last week, but it was unfilled. Green was listed new this week. Okay. So all of that is in here. But then he also put in jobs that were filled. So a lot of loan originations, personal loan accounts. Here, I can go back to this. Loan originations, personal loans, ton of personal loans. Senior software engineer, senior software engineer, again, all for personal loans. Okay. SoFi Money, capital market specialist, crypto, more SoFi Money, servicing relationships. And then lastly, we have Galileo, which is not doing, a lot, but starting to hire more in the United States again, which for the longest time just didn't exist. They were doing more like job listings for things in Argentina, stuff like that. Okay, what's this one that he has here? A senior manager for global money movement. Your key role in leading and supporting the launch of SoFi's global money movement products across international markets. This is your chance to build and scale SoFi's products outside the United States, directly impacting millions of lives. Groundbreaking feature for faster and more affordable global money transfer. We're seeking a senior manager for small business lending to help lead the charge in launching and scaling SoFi's newest lending verticals. This is a 0-to-1 role. Oh, in this 0-to-1 role, meaning they're launching a new product, you'll be responsible for building the foundation of our small business lending product, managing day-to-day operations, and ensuring the business long-term health. So this is not just a senior manager for small business lending partnerships. This looks to be an SMB banking, like a product that SoFi is going to originate themselves. Also, why we might have seen large capital raises if you're going to be launching into small to mid-sized business banking. And then also what Anthony noticed at big business banking. If you're going to get into all of that in 2026, that's a lot, man. Like you need a lot of capital in order to do that. We're seeking an engineering management role to lead our web acquisition team responsible for SoFi's logged out web experiences on SoFi.com. You will work in a highly collaborative environment, engaging closely with cross-functional product design and engineering teams. This team builds and operates this platform and user experiences that introduce prospective members to SoFi, communicate our value proposition, and drive efficient, high-quality member acquisition. All right, I like that. What else does he have here? Senior analyst for business controls, created for crypto risk management. Wow. Operations interview process specialist, which plays a pivotal role in shaping our member-facing teams. This position is responsible for managing the entire interview, and that thing is cutting it off, so I can't see what that word is. Something process for frontline agents. Okay, great. Yeah, it's we're in an exciting time for SoFi. It's just, I wish Trump would just sort of get out of the way and let SoFi enjoy 2026 because, any large changes in credit just scares the crap out of me for the entire financial and credit space. Now, I'm fully aware that the likelihood of this going through the Trump art of the deal, all of these sort of things that he's potentially doing this just to position for a conversation, not necessarily just calling for 10%. I get that. But still, doesn't feel good being on that side of the holding the positions that are falling apart whenever Trump has his sights set on you. JP Morgan said they would challenge it. Oh yeah, they're all going to challenge it. JP Morgan, Amex, Capital One, Bank of America, Citigroup, they have to. It's the fate of their multi-$100 billion business lines. It literally doesn't exist without having the rates that they have. It's a very competitive space. Not streaming on Twitch? Am I not? I should be. I apologize if I didn't set that up. My bad. If I didn't. I don't know why I wouldn't be. Okay, if I didn't, I apologize. The JP Morgan CFO didn't even take it seriously. Yeah, because you're just ruining the most popular consumer credit product, and you're not helping Americans. You're just taking away the the idea of it is helping Americans. Like, hey, those people are suffering from this product. Yes, but they're also not paying us back, and if they default on that, that hurts us. Like, this is the same thing with student loans. It's like the banks would just go around and go, okay, you know what? We don't want to offer a loan to this person. We don't think that they're going to pay us back, so we're not going to give them a student loan. And then that impacted the government, because they're like, okay, well, if people can't get this high education, like these are smart people, but they have no credit history. So we will federally back those student loans. So then our workforce is educated, which can lead to higher paying jobs, which leads to a better economy. Great. What happens in a credit card crisis? Does the government come out and federally guarantee that people get credit cards? At what interest rate are they going to put on that? The product for student loans is probably worse than private owned credit cards. Like, oh yeah, we are going to create a product that you can make to unbelievable sizes of credit. We're not talking $5,000, $10,000 loans here. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. You cannot go into bankruptcy to avoid these, because what you read in the textbook is now in your head, and we can't, secure a loan to that. So you can't run away from a student loan. By the way, it's all guaranteed and backed by the US government. Yeah, no, that's better. Trump, go fix what you got going on already, man. Private markets are handling themselves. That's SoFi created a product to fix this. If you want to help with the credit card market, go tell everyone to refinance with SoFi. Yeah, but the exact sensibility, this is exactly what the private market's going to do if you tell them that they have to offer 10% credit cards. The private market is going to adjust fees on monthly, annual, cash advances, all of these different things. The fees are just going to jack way up. And then they're also going to limit those card applications by 90%. They're just not going to give them. There's no guarantee. They don't have to play in these markets. Yeah, just pay for college on your credit card. Yeah. Exactly. It would actually be interesting for the government credit card at 10% that they could garnish wages to recover. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Why refinance with SoFi? Well, I'm talking more about the credit card product into a personal loan, because there is so few banks and institutions that'll offer you a personal loan. So if you're looking for a mortgage, go right ahead and take a look at SoFi. But that, I know everyone online would tell me hey, SoFi offers the best mortgage, but that's not necessarily true. I'm not saying that there is a company that will offer you a better mortgage, but they're very competitive. So, but for you, yeah, sure, you want to help your stock or whatever, but that's not going to bring you as much of a return as getting a mortgage that has the terms that would suit you best in terms of the interest and over the timeline that you want it at. So do your research on refinancing your mortgage, but that's a completely different issue. VG is up 10%. This company, man. 9.96%. All right. That's crazy. You bought this company a month ago, you're up 32%. You bought this company a year ago, you're down 66%. But yeah. Go VG. Now up 10%. When is SoFi coming to Canada? Well, I made a little comment to Anthony Noto about that. He ignored me. Okay. Let's see. I just loaded up on another 100 shares of SoFi. Was this wise? I mean, if you believe in their long-term future, if you think that the product's good, if you think that there's a need for credit and a new way to look at credit, and their underwriting seems good, like the defaults are coming down, their cost to borrow or the cost of funding on those loans are coming down, their amount of originations and the partners that they deal with on that are skyrocketing way up. And then you just look at like the types of things that are happening, right? Like the amount of new job applications, the amount of new segments that they're trying to get into, the fact that they've not budged on their midterm guidance of 55 to 80 cents for 2026, and we're about to go right into that year, for which, by the way, this company always beats on guidance. The fact that there's still Wall Street analysts that have this company expected EPS of 2026 at 47 cents. I like all of those stories. So, you know, I spoke with Devin Ryan because he had in his thing that this company, SoFi, is at a market perform for next year. Not a market outperform, but a market perform. And he was like, yeah, I mean, we like every single thing about the company. It's just like lending can be risky, and we wanted to lean more cautiously on if something were to go wrong. You know, like in a worst case scenario, I was talking about this with people on Discord. In a worst case scenario, SoFi can get negative revenue in 2026. Like if, you know, people don't pay back their loans, a lot of the revenue that they end up collecting is not actually real. It's like, you know, they're grabbing forward revenue. They're writing it in as if they're going to make it, but then if you were to adjust and prepayment was to rise, then you could actually see negative revenue in this business. For a company like Hood, that just can't really happen. You know, all the money that they're making is transaction based. The worst that could happen is that growth falls and falls and falls, and they end up making $0, but nothing's really going negative. They're extremely capital light. They're fast moving. It's all transaction based. They don't really, you know, there's no risk. So a little different, but so that's why he was a market outperform on a name like Hood and a market perform on a name like SoFi. Analysts don't predict prices, they follow them. That's not true in the case of Devin Ryan. He's very different. He's the 11th most or the 11th best analyst right now on Wall Street, and he has made some pretty like crazy predictions for prices. So one of his for 2026 actually, and this is the company that we were just looking into this morning on the member only live stream, was eToro. So he believes that this company is going to be $90 at the end of the year. 90. That's not an analyst prediction. Usually analysts follow prices. He just said, hey, this company is going to triple. So I've got a lot more looking in to do on this company. And whenever I have enough information, you know, I'll probably make a video or something like this and talk about if I've purchased it. Right now, I don't have a position, but am looking into it. It's decently exciting. We've got a crypto stake in this business. There's, you know, they're showing monthly metrics. They're pushing out new products. It's founder led. They're an under $3 billion market cap with over $1 billion in cash. It's kind of crazy. eToro, not Webull. The stock's on screen, ladies and gentlemen. VG pump, yeah. The VG pump is real, over 10% today. Such a fire interface. Yeah, I was taking a look at it today. We were watching some like videos of it and stuff because I was trying to get a sense. It's not in Canada, but they're in 75 different countries. So I can assume, it will be in Canada one day. But they're really trying to build their space in the United States. So although they are, they've made a lot of headways they've made a lot of land in the UK and Asia and stuff like this. They said in their most recent earnings call that their main places that they see the biggest LTV to CAC is Asia and the United States. So they're going to be pushing into the United States a lot. Even though they see competitors, they see great returns there. Okay. Tanner, am I buying Meta? I'm not buying Meta right now. Honestly, I have not made a purchase in a while. I'm just sort of chilling. But yeah, no, I like Meta. I actually didn't realize that they're at the price that they're at. $6.28. Like we're selling off again, eh? That's crazy. Down 5% year to date. I didn't even realize what's been happening in front of my eyes. New Bank back to 1668. eToro 3111. Yeah, just the sheer amount of cash on this name is kind of ridiculous. No, I have a position in Meta. I do. I'm just not actively buying it right now. Okay. I have a buy set for TSM. Please hit it. Oh, what's TSM at right now? What's your buy set at? We're up. We're up, baby. Last month, we're up 12.4%. When do you want to buy it? Tanner, would love your impact on Trump's tweet today on credit card competition act that limits swipe fees and how you think it will affect Shift 4. You know what's so funny about that? I never get that conversation at all. Swipe fees are just killing businesses, taking 2.9%. And then whenever a firm goes around, they're like, hey, we'll offer credit to your users if you want to offer them buy now, pay later. We charge 6%. And you'll also have to pay, if you really want to offer a good offering, that you pay for their APRs on those loans. So you're offering them a 0% loan, but on the back end, you're going to pay that 10% along with a 6% quote unquote swipe fee. And then they all go, sign me up, please sign me up. We're growing total merchandise volume by over 40%. Like, it doesn't matter, bro. I literally think the biggest businesses in the world, the reason why they don't care about whether you're picking Visa or MasterCard or American Express or any of these different things that have different charges or costs, Amex being, some of the highest, in terms of the swipe fees and how much they actually cost to use. And then on top of that, how much, a PayPal or something like this charging like 3.5% plus an additional 49 cents on top of that. It's extremely expensive to use those offerings. But then you see the biggest companies in the world and they allow you to use all of them because what they realize is that the alternative is someone could come to your booth. Someone could come to your storefront and go, oh, you don't take this? Okay, I can't purchase what you're offering today, and then they turn away from the purchase. And that alone, what you're missing out on 97% profit because you're worried about the 3%. Okay? It always drove me nuts whenever I'd go to these like small storefront things like I forget what you call it, like craft businesses, and they're like, yeah, we take cash only. We don't pay Visa and MasterCard. They take too much. I'm like, girl, you're charging me 80% more for this tchotchke, piece of crap thing, and you won't even take my money. You You're refusing my money. I don't have cash. You're going to miss out on 100% of what I'm offering you because you're worried about how much Visa's taking. It drives me. It's like you're worried about pennies, so you're missing dollars. And it's so silly to me. Anyway, I think that Trump can go ahead and bang the drum on how big of a problem that is, but I don't think that it's a problem at all. And then for real, Alan, you're right. It's also just tax evasion. What if your margins are only 8%? Then pick a new business. For like, this is the same thing where people are like, I'm in the restaurant business and it's hard to make money. I'm like, yeah, you picked the restaurant business, dude. Like people are acting like we're back in a society where we're all designated jobs, and I told you to get into a business with 8% margins. Pick a new lifestyle. We're like, that's easy for you to say. You're a YouTuber. You go be a YouTuber. I fucking turned a camera on. Like, go do something else then. All right, let's go see this tweet that he said, because I didn't read it. So I could be freaking out about nothing, but okay. Trump swipe fees. What's the margin on YouTube channel? Yeah, see, I don't know. I don't really have expenses. So the margin's high, but maybe the competition for actually making any money is extremely hard because there's a bazillion competitors. Okay. Yeah, I charge. Yeah, perfect. And you know what? I wouldn't even do that because then that makes people upset. I would just charge 3% more. Like, what business are you in where 3% is changing whether someone is buying or selling? Or buying or not buying? Okay. When I owned my business, credit card processors also charged me a monthly fee for the right to accept cards. I wasn't going to sign up for all of them, pay cash, or get a card more people use. That might have been a while ago. It's not really that way anymore. You can kind of get a pretty good, terminal where they charge a one-time fee regardless, and then you select which cards are able to be used. And then on web, it's even better. If you're using Stripe or something like this, like they make it so mind-numbingly easy and cheap in order to collect payments. Okay. I carry cash for that reason. I need to start carrying more cash, but no. Pay cash. No, bro. It's not easy for me. I have my own expenses. I like having everything in an organized, what do you call it? Not, I was going to say Intuit, but QuickBooks. Like let me organize my transactions the way I want. If someplace takes cash and doesn't take card, I cannot be a customer. I don't have cash. Luckily for me, the people who only take cash, you guys are in the Stone Age. I'm in the world where everyone else is living and can transact at 95% of every institution. The Walmarts and the Costcos are swallowing up the small business owner. No, they're just allowing me to use my credit card. Okay. And they are swallowing up small business owners. I'm making a little bit more of a joke than anything. Okay, let's see here. Credit Card Competition Act in order to stop the out-of-control swipe fee ripoffs. Yeah. Cool. Cash is dead. Yeah, it's my belief. My dog groomer only takes cash or check. She is so good that I can't leave her. Well, you should just tell her that it would be great if she could. Like, isn't this what Square, like, that's what Square, like, was so good at? That you didn't need to go buy a terminal. you would just plug in a aux cord cash tap device that would, and then let your phone be the actual processor of those transactions. You can literally take payments on your iPhone. Like you can tap an iPhone to an iPhone and transact payments. There's no excuse anymore. Okay. Yeah, raise prices on card trade. I'm perfectly fine with that. Perfectly fine. You got to cover your expenses. Doesn't that cost money? Yes, but cash costs money. Like I'm not making interest on my cash every year. Cash is not free. Cash costs you money. I'm getting an interest in my checking account, that I'm making as I'm sitting here talking with you guys. I can't drop money in my checking account. I can lose cash. I own a fishing charter boat. Cash is still king. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's communities and stuff like this. Cash costs a lot less for one reason. You know the reason. Okay. Your face is on your logo and the IRS is in chat. I use Square with my Samsung phone. Just touch the back of the phone. Transactions, cards, very convenient. Yeah. Okay. Let's get back into the news. We talked about President Trump saying that big tech companies have to pay their own way. I actually think that's perfectly fine. I think that they have the capabilities of doing that. Talk about high margin businesses that can figure this stuff out on their own. And I think we're actually headed in that direction before Trump had made this call. You heard about all of the large nuclear deals, 3 Mile Island deals, like all these different things. They were headed in that direction regardless. China is said to restrict chip purchases in special circumstances, says the information. Really, really good sign. Essentially what this means is that for government or very special applications, these companies cannot use Nvidia and they will have to use a homegrown chip. Perfectly fine. What that is also meaning that they're coming out and trying to make these types of stipulations is that does open us up to Alibaba or Tencent or ByteDance or some of these companies that do want our chips that might be more consumer facing. So, boy, oh boy, is that exciting. If you're an Nvidia shareholder, you're going to, feel comfortable knowing that 184, assuming all goes well for 2026 or fiscal year 2027, this is probably a little too cheap. My own opinion, do your own due diligence. It's just for my own money. But you guys probably know that yeah. The IRS makes itself present in my chat. Ban them. That's funny. Okay. Now I'm on probably some sort of list. I'm going to get pulled into a room next time I pass the border. Okay. But yeah, feel very confident with Nvidia here. Everyone keeps saying VG. I don't know what you want me to look at, guys. I don't follow liquid natural gas. The stock's up 10%. I get it. It's exciting. I don't hold it. The hype in Nvidia is dead, dude. I see that 100%. But that doesn't change what I think is actually happening. And at the end of the day, I still believe that companies are move on fundamental plays. There's catalysts here. China, large sales there. The Vera Rubin chip, the developments in what Meta's saying with Meta Compute. This is all extremely bullish Nvidia, and not just for the short term, but we're talking, extremely long timelines where we could potentially be going from tens of gigawatts, as Meta said, to hundreds of gigawatts over time. That means that there's going to be a continuous build out, that they do not believe capacity is anywhere near fulfilled. That's exciting. Okay. Yeah, dude, it's not just hundreds of billions of dollars. It's like they're talking about trillions of dollars of spend. Trillions. A single gigawatt data center is about $50 billion, but 35 billion of that is chips. 35 billion. Okay. That part is, if you start talking about tens of gigawatts, and then you start going into hundreds of gigawatts, that's a lot of money. And then if you start going into, well, that's just Meta. How is Microsoft, Amazon, ByteDance, Alibaba, all of these companies going to react to that type of spend? Are they going to sit on their hands? It's a lot of resources. Well, yeah, for sure. It's a lot of resources. There's going to be, secondary ways to play this type of market. Maybe you're a commodity guy. Maybe you're, there's some construction plays, engineering plays, energy plays. There will be a lot of different ways to play it. But I just know Nvidia well. I've got trust in management. I've got trust in the product. Yeah. Okay. Tanner, will you cover earnings later today? No. Phoenix Education Partners? No. I don't think I'm going to be doing too much earnings. Like, obviously, I'll read up on JP Morgan and some of these, and then we can discuss some comments from them and Bank of America. I think Bank of America is tomorrow, right? Yeah, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo. That's tomorrow. TSM is on Thursday. Actually, what time is that going to be at? Because that's probably not going to be at a normal time. 2 a.m. 2 a.m. Thursday. That's going to be really exciting. Goldman, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, those sort of names. We'll learn a lot, but I don't think I'm going to be live at 2 a.m. for TSM. Crypto making a push? 93,000, 94,000 nearly on Bitcoin. We're looking at prices like, hopefully, if we just get a little bit higher, if we try to break out to like 95,000, we have not seen prices like this since November 17th. But that's if we can get above that, or if this is some sort of, resistance line that essentially means that we're topping out on Bitcoin. And we never get there slowly. The candles are so unbelievably huge. Like, the explosion on crypto is just, wow. Ethereum 3,200. That's going to help BM&R. Just put out a BM&R video today. I got to change the title or something. It's not doing very well, but maybe people are just exhausted on this name. But I essentially just wanted to highlight some of the benefits and concerns that I'm thinking about on this name. Still holding, not purchasing, just holding. Supreme Court ruling releases rulings tomorrow. I thought that got pushed. To the end of January. Are we still on for Wednesday? I thought it was a good bid. Thank you. Potentially tomorrow. Okay. Why Nebius over IREN? I like the contracts on Nebius look better to me than IREN. I forget the recent IREN deal, but it looked like they were making like a 3% margin. Like it was like a terrible deal for them, in my opinion. On top of that, I don't really like their background. I really like Nebius's background of being, you know, all engineers from a cloud-based team that was from Yandex. So thousands of people that have come from a similar team. They know how to work together. They've been in the space. I just like that a lot. So, yeah. It's the name that I've been following. Boy, oh boy, though. I think that this company's valuation, like if I think Palantir and Nebius should switch on their valuations. This should be a 400 PE company and Palantir should be 125 PE. Defense stocks are the way. Yeah. I don't sacrilege. It's true, dude. Like this company's growing faster. PayPal's finding new lows. Wow. 56.27. It's not new lows for us, but yeah, we did hit 55.85 here in the last year, back in April. But like we are at Liberation Day levels. That is still crazy. We are at Liberation Day levels. Do you buy it for what they could say for guidance on 2026, or do you heavily ignore it for, yeah. I don't know. Terry, building a position in ARM? No. Not in ARM. You'll be wrong about SMCI. Well, I haven't been so far. That's because you don't own. Yeah, I know. I mean, I would want all my companies that I own to be expensive after I've purchased them. But, yeah. PayPal is confused. It's trying to find itself. PayPal is going to outperform SoFi in 2026. Yeah. I don't even think that that's that, crazy of a comment to make. I think that there's a possibility that that is true. But what's the likelihood? I think that's sort of the thing. Tesla's bleeding. Covered calls printing. Yeah, I bet they would be. Yeah. Dude, I want to continue to write covered calls on some of these names. I haven't really touched them too much, and it's been a good time to write covered calls on names like SoFi and Nvidia and stuff, but I just worry that like these names are already too low, and I don't want to collect pennies if there's going to be a re-rating on that stock. And that could have been, like for Nvidia, for example, that could have been CES. Maybe it's GTC. Maybe it's earnings. I don't know when, but we've definitely seen times where, before you would see these moments where Jensen would talk and the stock would go from 180 to 212 in the matter of a few days. Like for real, this is from 180 to 212 was a matter of October 23rd to October 29th. That's how quickly the market can go, oh, wait, we got this name wrong again. And then they come back down as they, believe that they have competition. And then they go, oh, wait, Nvidia doesn't have competition. And they go, okay, no. And they sell off again. Like, look at this candle for earnings. Like, we opened up so high, everyone was so excited, and they just ended the day low again. You know, I've been collecting pennies. Collecting pennies on Nvidia is good if you can get away with it. I'm just worried about it. I'm just worried about it. So, of course, there's money to be made writing covered calls on these names. But I think that they've been held down a little bit. And if that clears up, I'm going to have to either roll or end up allowing people to exercise those covered calls. And I don't want to do either. Mizuho's Dan Dolov is talking about payment companies 17 minutes ago. Let's have a look. Oh, sorry. There we go.
Dan Dolov, he's the senior analyst at Mizuho. Dan, let's start with, are we sure, and maybe this is a simple question, that this is the reason why these stocks are down today?
Yeah, I'm pretty much sure that it's a combination of what happened yesterday with the 10% cap. It's kind of the backlash of that and kind of continuation on that of that, and then also kind of the fear on on those swipe fees. So I think the fear is that the president is very focused on payments and not in a good way, and I think that's why the stocks are down.
But why are they down more today than yesterday on this news? You know, it's always fascinating when it takes a day for things to sink in. Sometimes like a Fed rate cut.
I thought about this, heavily yesterday as well, but it's because of what we don't know. So it's down today because people are saying, well, he's now focused on our space. What else is he going to say in a tweet, overnight that's going to cause even more havoc in the space? So I think this is, again, my assumption is it's pricing in something that we might not know, or kind of the uncertainty of what comes next. I mean, That's just my assumption today.
Visa and MasterCard, our audience knows this, better than anyone, but they are, processors. They're not the ones extending the credit. So why do you think they would be affected by a cap? Simply on a reduction in volume, or would it actually get to the heart of a business model that relies to some extent on all of these rates?
So, payments more than most people, because they actually don't exactly. They're just processors, right? And they're just the channel between the banks and the consumers. They make like 10 basis points or 15 basis points, regardless of whether or not it's a credit or a debit transaction. And what I think is going to happen if this actually were to go through, I mean, you need the Congress, et cetera. It's going to throw a lot of people into the hands of like buy now, pay later, like Affirm, right? Or even PayPal. And what's going to happen there is one credit transaction that's gone is going to create 4 buy now, pay later transactions, because people settle those buy now, pay later transactions through debit. So I actually think, in a weird way, it's a positive catalyst, and I'm surprised the market's not seeing that.
That's a great data point. People love it. I couldn't understand why buy now, pay later names were not just down fractionally yesterday. They were down rather sharply. Wouldn't the obvious competitive move be that they benefit from any pullback in credit on credit cards?
Exactly. And that's why I think, what it reminds me of? I mean, we've been doing this for a long time. It reminds me on when the sector traded down, when stablecoins first were talked about. It's literally the same pattern. The charts look the same. And you know what it was? It was a giant buying opportunity for payments, Visa, MasterCard, and the buy now, pay later. So I think this could be another sort of massive buying opportunity on those fears.
Do you think all of this is, all noise and no actual policy change? Or do you expect that we will get some changes that will be impactful?
We don't know. Look, there has been a lot of legislation, and I think what's going to end up happening is I think it needs to go to Congress, and I think the president is making a lot of good, good points here, right? It's nothing here is unfounded. I think that the fact that U.S. Interchange in credit is much higher than others, so those things make a lot of sense. But I think at some point there'll be some sort of resolution down the road that might be a little bit worse for the banks and a little bit better for consumers and merchants, but not completely annihilate interchange.
Do you guys want to watch Trump at the Detroit Economic Club? Or do we want to watch a couple more of these analyst videos if we end up seeing good stories come on? Top tactical trades for earnings season. We saw the Brad Smith commentary. There was some additional commentary on China's momentum in AI. That might be interesting. Maybe we'll have to check out that. Okay. U.S. and Canada government is urging their citizens in Iran to leave now. Trump is supposed to comment on Iran tonight in Detroit. It's according to Cactus Jack, so you know that's real. No thoughts on Okta. Let's see what Brad Smith had to say about China's momentum in AI. This is important. Okay. Let's take a look.
Brad Smith also had another message in that conversation, and it was a warning about China's momentum in AI. Let's turn to Deirdre Bosa for more on that in today's Tech Check. Hi, Deirdre.
Hey, Kelly. So Smith said the Chinese models are gaining adoption globally, and if the U.S. slows down, the gap could close faster than anyone expects. Now, this is a calculated move, weaponizing national security to counter friction at that local level that is now slowing amid this build out at home. It's a playbook that Jensen Huang helped define, and one that we're likely to see more of from big tech as governance becomes the new bottleneck in AI. Smith's comments, they follow a report from Microsoft late last week that puts numbers around this warning. It shows Chinese open source models like DeepSeek gaining real share outside of the West, most notably, as you can see here, in Russia and Africa. But don't ignore North America here. Microsoft puts adoption of DeepSeek at 6 to 10%, which isn't nothing, Kelly. The messaging here cuts both ways. In the U.S., big tech is talking up the risk of China closing the gap to press for speed and flexibility. In China, though, it's also happening. Alibaba and other AI executives, they recently have been publicly downplaying their own progress, perhaps as a way to get access to Nvidia chips, which they still need to move faster. So for investors, keep an eye on this narrative change aimed at policymakers, and don't forget to take it with a grain of salt. It's interesting what the Chinese are saying, Kelly, because they are not slowing down. But as we get these headlines about Nvidia and restrictions, they want to make sure they have access to the top technology.
For real, China is a real player in artificial intelligence. I know you see some people who are obviously want America to win. I think mostly everyone wants America to win. That being said, I think that if you're ignoring the real state of what's going on, China's a great competitor. And I just wouldn't undermine them to say, oh, they do not have a chance of winning because the United States has a lead right now. Okay. That being said, I am kind of in just like a little bit of a DD mood right now. So I kind of just want to read and listen to some videos, and I don't have too many topics that I have really, an opinion on right now, unless there's some Q&A that you guys have that you guys want me to cover. eToro. Yeah, my due diligence on eToro is not, fully thought through right now. And it's just really boring, I find, to do due diligence on things. Like, I did it on the stream earlier, but yeah, that's not really something I was doing with a large audience. Are you still in SoFi, Tanner? Very much still in SoFi. I have not sold a single share. Yeah. You in VG, not in VG. DD on Iran. I mean, it is on my short list of things to do. Yeah. Want to do DD on Zeta? Okay, I'll speak on that for a second. Like, I was listening to Chris and Steve's conversation with Zeta, and by the way, I was just, if anyone saw that stream, I felt like I was being a little bit too needy, but they are some of the best investors that I know online, like for real. But that being said, whenever I go to invest in a business, it's not just about the numbers. I need to know what's the competitive edge of a business. What makes them do better than their competitors? And I'm very careful in that space because, you know, people were talking about the return on ad spend that Zeta can sport versus their competitors and how great that is. But like, that's what got me burnt on the trade desk is whenever that, you know, initial collapse from 144 down to like $60. And Jeff Green was continuing to sport how high the return on ad spend was for companies like Coca-Cola and Target and all of these businesses that were doing, that had amazing campaigns with TTD. But then the stock just continued to get killed because the competition was creeping up. Amazon had been doing so well. And in fact, Amazon was doing so well in that space with the, I'm going to get the name wrong, but is it DV360? Someone correct me. But they were doing so well that they had offered campaigns to use Trade Desk and Amazon. And if you did so, that they would, you know, front the cost for the Trade Desk just to show that their products are actually giving you better performance. That scared the crap out of me, dude. Like, the big players, the Googles of the world, maybe Google Network is leaving a little bit. Maybe they leave the open internet in general and TTD is okay. But it just scares the crap out of me. Investing in these businesses that are slightly black boxes, because I don't personally use the product. There's not a lot of videos or things demonstrating the product. That's the one thing that Palantir, I think, did very well is like, okay, we're not personally using the product like investors, but we're going to have these boot camps where we get the biggest people of every industry to come in to tell them how they're using this product, how it's affecting them, and why it's working so well. So yeah, I don't need to rush into that investment right now until I fully understand it. And I think that from a lot of people that I'm reading, not many people are fully understanding that business. Amit said he was expecting a baby Amit in 8 months, said it this morning. You're going to make me send a text and then is that true? Are you expecting baby Amit? Can't believe I didn't know he was adopting. Okay. Fake news? Oh, I already sent the text. Davis is pregnant? Yeah. Tanner, do you have a thesis on Grab? No. No thesis on Grab. I like, yeah, I don't know. Uber looks cheap. I don't need to go halfway across the world to buy a food delivery and taxi service. Did you ever buy Reddit? Yes, Reddit's in the portfolio. I wouldn't worry about a company like ASML having a concentration in customers. I would not worry about that. I would focus way more on the huge, glaringly huge moat. Semiconductor thesis for 2026, nothing changes. I think the demand's only getting larger. I think Claude is at the forefront of showing consumers what they can actually do with these products. And like, you know, if you read any of the comments from some of these engineers and everything, it's like their whole like day is completely changed. The way that they're doing work, the amount of code that they're shipping, the products that they've been able to build, it's being completely revolutionized. And honestly, not enough credit is being given to Claude. Yeah. You should check out how they build machines at ASML. I've seen some videos like that. It's pretty insane. I think even Veritasium's done a ASML video as well. It's nuts. Haven't been here in a while. Since when did we switch to morning shows? How long has it been, guys? Oh, actually, I can tell you. I think for the Market Monitor, we're on our 32nd episode. And the shows before, whenever we were doing 7 o'clock times, that was the FinTech Frenzy, is what we called it, or Big Tech Frenzy. And I was on my 485th episode. Yeah. Crazy. Crazy of daily live streams. I'm live all the time now. Two weeks, couple months. Well, honestly, you're probably right. Like it's only, 5. Yeah, it's about a month and a half or something like this. Plus holidays and everything. I took a week off. So it's probably about 2 months. You're probably right. Let's see. What's your number one goal in 2026? Get healthy. I want to really, I was doing a lot of weightlifting and everything. And like working on calisthenic stuff. And, I feel great. My body feels great. But I think my lungs and my heart are weaker than I thought. Now I don't think like my heart's not weak in terms of like, oh, I have health condition problems. It's just like I want to be healthy. But whenever you're sitting 13 hours a day, like you have to be like really healthy. And no one's really taking that seriously in my space. Like I talked to Steve and he makes these comments about like how I'm trying to live like Brian Johnson. It's like not about that. I just don't want to die. Like I just don't want to be in pain. I don't want to like, I do cold showers. I don't do breathing exercises. I'm not on the Wim Hof stuff. I tried it. I honestly never felt any real difference. Obviously, what Wim's got going on, he's, fantastic with that stuff. But for real, I've never felt a difference. Okay. Going long, Domino's Pizza. So one thing is, this is something that like I'm not really a fan of. Like one, yeah, like I don't mind pizza. I'll get a pizza from time to time. But I am not in the space for investing in junk food. I think that that's going to be like one of the greatest shorts over the next 5 to 10 years. Every single health craze is pushing into healthier and healthier foods. Healthier energy drinks, even though Celsius might not be healthy, compare it versus a Monster. Foods and McDonald's and Coca-Cola and all of those, I would not touch any of them. I don't think that those businesses will thrive over time. Maybe that's a personal anecdote, and so the people around me are changing my behaviors, and so then I'm not, trying to eat that stuff. But yeah. Pizza, I actually don't think is as bad. Like, obviously, it's bad, but like, I would much less prefer a double Big Mac, large fry, and a large Coca-Cola. I think that's like sugar is white death. Like, it's for real bad for you. Like bad. And I don't care about what Charlie Munger's thesis is on Coca-Cola or anything like this. I don't care. I'm not going to be 95 years old eating Dairy Queen and sipping on Coca-Cola. It's not going to happen. Americans fat, going to stay fat or just use Wegovy? Yeah, but if they use Wegovy, they're not going to crave, like Wegovy's not just a big fat burner. A lot of these GLP-1s are not just attacking fats, they're attacking appetite. That hurts those businesses. What's worse, smoking or sugar? So this is very contentious. Very, very contentious. So I would say smoking cigarettes is bad. Okay. Obviously very bad. I think some of the new ways of intaking nicotine or tobacco, smokeless solutions are, I would actually suggest that that is better than sugar by a long shot. Nicotine's also an appetite suppressant. So it can actually help with some of the sugar addictions and stuff like this. I would pay to watch you eat a McGriddle. Dude, I would eat a McGriddle, like, donate. I'll eat it tomorrow. Like, I'm not immune to wanting tasty food. I understand. It's just, it makes, I feel extremely guilty eating bad food. Yeah. There's a real anti-nicotine campaign that's out there. But for real, go look it up. Go look it up. Sugar is so bad that they have sponsored and tried to change the way that people look at saturated fats and different fats to try to seem like that is what's making people have bad health and clogged arteries and all of these things, whenever a lot of what's actually causing a lot of bad health and shortening of lifespans was actually sugar. Like, I really, really dislike you know, a lot of the sugar companies. Yeah, Jake, I agree. It's not even really the tobacco. It's a lot of the additives in the cigarette that are what's killing you. Just bought cigarettes instead of a candy bar. Thanks, Tanner. Yeah. It also depends on the amount of sugar. Like someone said in here as well, like liquid sugar is a lot worse, but it's mainly because it's much easier to quantify. There's like an insane amount of ice cream. Like if you go and get like vanilla ice cream, you'd be surprised how much vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream that you can eat before it adds up to a single bottle of Coca-Cola. It is crazy. Like, sodas are bad. Sodies? Okay. Coke Zero, baby. Yeah. Sugar provides energy. Yeah, eat an apple. Coke Zero rocks. Yeah, by the way, I'm no health expert. Take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of sugar, and move on with your day. But same thing with the stocks. I'm no stock expert. I'm just giving you guys my opinion. You know, let's make a little money together. Let's try to live a little longer. I'm sure my opinions on, hey guys, don't eat bad foods and drink bad drinks is gonna, you know, maybe Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett lived so long because they were eating Dairy Queen. Okay, let's watch another video. The tactical trades for earnings season from John Marshall of Goldman Sachs. What about aspartame? Honestly, I'm not crazy anti-aspartame, which is funny. I know a lot of people will say that it's as worse, if not even more worse, but I don't know if there's a lot of studies that actually show that, at least from what I've read. But I just try to stick away from all of it.
Goldman's out with its list of 25 tactical earnings trades this earnings season. They see upside for names like LVS, StubHub, Meta, UNH, and some downside for names like Southwest, Texas Instruments. The list did outperform S&P by more than 5% last quarter. And joining us this morning at Post 9, Goldman Sachs head of derivatives research, John Marshall, is back. John, welcome as always. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
We always ask first about thematics, but it's usually kind of ad hoc, is it not?
It really is a bottom-up list where we're looking at analysts are making estimates, where are they above or below consensus. Sometimes you get some themes under the surface. You know, we've had Nvidia and Broadcom on, you know, in the last year a couple of times, and we do have some AI names on this list this time, but they're a little bit more under the surface. So we'll have Teradyne is on the list, covered by Jim Schneider. They make test equipment that's being useful in testing GPUs. Also, Celestica, who puts together the hardware, a lot more customization for the hyperscalers. Arista Networks, also a name that's covered by Michael Ng. They connect everything in the data center. So you can see it's, you know, a lot of the things under the surface rather than the headline.
Right. Does the list at all lead you to the broadening of the market that we talked so much about, going into pro-cyclical or consumer, restaurants, travel, anything like that?
Yeah, it definitely does. And we've been seeing that in the earnings day moves as well. The bigger earnings day moves, or at least the increase in earnings day moves that everybody's been witnessing, has been more pronounced in things like utilities, materials, industrials, and healthcare than it has in tech and consumer. We're all seeing the big moves in tech and consumer, and we think that's where the outsized outperformance of these earnings day moves are. But it's broadening to some of those other sectors.
Why do you think that is?
I think that they're less followed. They have things going on under the surface. Some of them are benefiting more than others on AI, and that is surprising analysts.
The combination of Robinhood and NASDAQ kind of leads you to a discussion about capital markets, right? Retail participation, IPOs, new issues, stuff like that?
Absolutely. The retail participation continues to be very high. Our metrics show retail in single stocks has been buying over the last 3 months pretty steadily. In ETFs, also significant trend in buying. And so Robinhood benefits from that continued retail participation. Also the broadening out of their TAM as it relates to crypto. And James Yarrow has done a great job tracking that.
So who's got the most downside risk?
So the most downside risk, the names that I would really highlight, Southwest Airlines, Katie O'Brien, who covers that, they have really, you know, ambitious guidance that they've put out there in the market. And she has about 13% below consensus estimates. So she thinks it's going to be a tough quarter, a tough year, frankly. But, you know, if they do achieve that, that's one that could see upside, but we're expecting downside. In Texas Instruments, you know, kind of the opposite side of that that technology trade I was talking about before, they have actually produced a lot, put a lot in the inventory channel, and Jim Schneider thinks that they're going to be below consensus this quarter.
Just going back to the health conversation really quick, because I saw a couple of comments I was just reading. You know what's also weird about having health conversations is people will say stuff like, "Yeah, I mean, if you breathe, if you have too much oxygen, if you drink too much, you'll die." It's like, okay, I guess my comments about Coke and McDonald's being bad are controversial. I'm aware. Take away with what you want from that conversation, I guess. I also think that don't overeat in calories, you'll be okay. I think that, you know, deciding on whether or not you're healthy is based on how much you weigh or what your BMI is so crazy. I'm not going to show you guys a picture of my mother, but she looked like a very normal person, you know, a beautiful lady. But she had stage 4 cancer, riddled on the inside. Is that genetic? Was that something that she did? Was that a culture of having a glass of wine with dinner? Was that a culture of, you know, who knows? And so, but I wouldn't derive health based on, you know, how big you are. And by the way, that's another thing too. If you got, my mother was 53 whenever she passed. We knew that she was sick for 3 weeks before she passed. Okay. I made a joke. I was sitting with her and I was like, you're wheezing, you're getting old. Like, you know, making a little joke. And then my dad and her went to go get checked. And then she was, you know, very sick. And a lot of her family does also suffer with cancer. I'll probably have a similar problem as well. But that's also why I, you know, don't want to make the wrong mistakes of drinking Coke or doing something like this. Like, I know, like, I'm not making out to be like, oh, if I sip Coke, I'm going to have stage 4 cancer. But if you create a habit of having a few drinks every single day, and that's not doing your health any good, I don't think, like, you know, your body is a system of plumbing where it's like, okay, well, if you put it in at the top and it comes at the bottom, then you've made no problems in the middle. It's like, no, I mean, your body's taking in a lot of that. So I'm just, yeah, exactly. I'm just trying to lower the odds. Lower the odds. It's the best that we can do. I can get struck by lightning. You know, I get hit by a bus tomorrow. Let's try to help the odds. That's all. Same thing with investing. You know, black swan events can happen. A competitor can have some unbelievable success that ends up crushing your business. Something can happen to your business. All we're trying to do is put the odds in the right direction, right? And but yeah, obviously two very contentious things. I'm in sort of a triangle of like the 3 most like contentious areas, like, you know, investing, health, and then politics. I try to stay completely out of politics. I'm trying to step a little bit into some of the health conversations just because it's I should talk about more about what I care about. But yeah, they obviously are not something that like everyone's just like, oh yeah, that's something that we can all agree upon. Because yeah, anyway. Don't underestimate the quality of your surroundings. Don't underestimate, or are you saying that my water's fine or that I should have my water tested? Because I've got a air thing right there. I got to breathe good air. Okay. Hashtag Ninja product or Shark product. Same company. Shark Ninja. Ticker symbol SN. I got cancer when I was 22. I played high school football and active, got a job. Oh yeah, it happened. There was a YouTuber that I was following before, in like the rental real estate place. I think his wife was 29. She's like a triathlon. I don't know how you say that. Triathlete, something like this. And then just randomly had cancer, and she ended up passing away. So Cactus, hopefully, you're getting better in remission. But what's it called? Yeah, it doesn't necessarily guarantee success, but hopefully it puts you on the right page. A huge listener of Andrew Huberman, by the way. Like, maybe not a daily listener, but like I'll listen to the Huberman podcast, I don't know, once every 3 days, something like that. Don't be like Amit. Does Amit get into politics? We want Canada and Greenland now. Come get me. Pay me, what was it? 100 grand. I'll vote. What am I going to get? A open market of new competition to come in and sell me their products and, you know, the ability to cross borders in a better dollar? Oh, no. Amit is mega. Wow. That's how you know someone's a centrist. You can tell Amit's a lefty, and then 2 comments down, Amit's mega. People would say that my chat's full of people who are all Trumpists. But then I said, do you guys want me to watch Trump? And there was just like a wall full of no's. I think there's just like, you know, 50% of America voted one way. The other 50% voted another way. We're all here. We're all just trying to make a little bit of money. Yeah, someone called me a Canadian. I always say mega, MAGA. It's just I don't like the way that sounds. Okay. Maka. Make America Canada again. Okay. Is Greenland yours? No. I don't own anything. I'm going to try to be a majority shareholder of Nvidia, but until that day, I don't own much. Fanatics launched new global sports and entertainment platform. Do not care. It's flat out a really good environment for banks. Okay, we have to listen to this. 10% credit cards. Jamie Dimon's crying online. Flat out a great environment for banks. And I think he's right. I think banks, it could be a great 2026.
About banks and anything else that we may come up with. Bob Diamond, Atlas Merchant Capital CEO, former CEO of Barclays, of course. Let's start on the banks, Bob. You heard Leslie reporting on JPM. Just generally speaking, as we get ready for earnings from some of the other big banks, what are your expectations for the sector as we sort of move into a new year?
I think it's a terrific environment for banks. I think this administration has been very balanced, very positive on bank capital, maybe coming down a little, being more clear in terms of the requirements. I think, the rate cuts, the positive yield curve, I think deal making will be very good. This administration has been very clear that they're going to be more proactive in terms of approving deals. Generally, I mean, there's a lot of specifics by industry. So I think it's going to be a great environment in 2026 for banks.
Deserving of higher multiples, or, I'm just wondering. And of course, whenever I hear something like that, I think, well, what could go wrong that we're not thinking about?
But, I think I look back as having been a CEO of a large bank, and the better the environment and the better your earnings, the more cautious you are about the outlook and the more willing you are to say, these are all the things to worry about. And I think we'll see a little bit of that in the bank earnings. But I think for the U.S. banks, it's a very confident group. They're performing extremely well. We've seen Bank of New York really improve over the last couple of reporting periods. We've seen Wells Fargo, their investment banking business really improve. So, David, I think it's just flat out a really good environment for the banks.
Yeah, after what's been 2 good years in the stock market already for the big cap banks.
One thing that could happen is he could just wake up one day and cap interest rates on credit cards, something like that.
I think we've learned we can wake up that day and find out a lot of things that we had.
But
that's not good.
It's not great,
Definitely.
right?
No.
So I mean there's that policy risk, and Congress could, I think he needs Congress to do that, right?
Which is why he called Elizabeth Warren.
Right, and it sounds like they might be on board with such a thing.
A little bit like the mayor of New York. Let's proclaim things that we actually don't have the power to implement. little bit
Kind of works. So yeah, you do it enough and maybe you get something done, although it is interesting. Yeah.
You know, back to banks, I've talked to all of you before about this. The regional and community banks, people forget this. There's 4,500 banks in this country. We tend to think of the top 6 or 7. There's 4,500 banks, and the opportunity for them to merge, to acquire, to consolidate, to take costs out, to take advantage of AI, to take advantage of technology. We're very focused on that. It has not gone as quickly as we thought it would go, the consolidation of those 4,500 since SVB, but we are seeing signs of a pickup there.
Yeah.
I think as you look forward over the next couple of years, we're going to see some great opportunities in those banks that we don't hear of a lot, you know, below the top level, below the super regionals, the banks in the 5 billion to 50 billion area, and the opportunity to take costs out, particularly in-state opportunities where, you know, you get to combine kind of the client front end, but take out the technology costs is pretty good.
I think that it's interesting whenever I think about fintechs, because they don't have, you know, borders, and the real estate where you end up seeing fintech advertising on a consumer facing side, but even on a growing business side, is in the App Store. Okay. I think it's interesting that we have 4,000 plus banks, because there's no competing away capital. If you have, you know, millions or billions of dollars, and you have loans outstanding, then yeah, you can still pay for your bank to stay alive. Maybe you have even 2 branches, like, you know, still a great small business. But whenever you're talking about competing against the average person or at the average bank to get checking accounts opened, first credit cards, personal loans, mortgages, a lot of these things, I don't see how that's not going to shift more and more online. And I think a big push to how we got to 4,000 banks was because those branches had secured a community. A new bank opened up in a small rural town, and everyone around it went to that bank, and, you know, that's who you trusted. But does that need to happen anymore? Or can we be from 50 different states all using Robinhood and SoFi and, you know, all the different companies that we talk about? Like, they're so much more flexible and can move so much faster, and the advertising is not happening like based on a small community. It's based online. So I think that there will be a lot of consolidation in banks over time. I really do. Lam Research provides the highly specialized etching equipment that is currently indispensable for Amcor's most advanced AI-related packaging processes or projects, safer than Amcor. I'm not holding Amcor either, but yeah, it's great to know. Elon Musk offering free Starlink in Iran amid the blackout. Oh. BM&R probably tapping ATM right now. Let's go to BM&R. BM&R up 2% on the day. Whenever I looked at my cheat sheet yesterday, it did look like they were ever so slightly above MNAV. Ever so slightly. Are you guys doing another stock draft for 2026? Yeah, I think so. But the initial stock draft that we started was in June. So that one still needs to play out. You know, we've only done 6 months on that, essentially. Okay. I'm going to try to get the free offers here in the States. Why do you think BM&R will pump after hours? Because ETH is moving? 3,200. Is Tom Lee going to be right? Can we test new all-time highs in January? If that can happen, if he can return this name back to, you know, nearly 47, 4,800, if not 5,000. By the end of January, all will be forgiven. But then at that point, if it does run up to here, then you'd have to imagine that by the first half of 2026, that there would be some heavy selling because they also called for that as well. You know? I want the market to crash so bad now. Why? Because you got cash? Yeah, I think that as time goes on, we've continued to see more and more deals that are happening on the Ethereum network. I think that it's still very bullish. We just need to give it time. You know, we just need to let things play out. We're in the experimentation phase of blockchain right now, but real things are being built. You know, you've got the Swift network and JP Morgan or JPMD and Larry Fink talking about tokenizing everything, all of financial services on blockchain, how they're going to save money that way. I think that that helps with the amount of gas fees that we see on Ethereum. Okay. ETH is not an asset. It's a game that restarts until it doesn't. It's a game that restarts until it doesn't. Let me know what you mean, Chris. Okay. I'm going to go. By the way, PayPal just said that they are also supporting Google's Universal Commerce Protocol, which is a huge upgrade as well for, what do you call it? Huge upgrade for Shopify. Trump is live discussing markets, credit cards, and interest rates. Okay, whenever I looked at him, he was just talking about his polling or something, and how if he's actually talking about like current news, then let's have a look. Okay. Let's have a listen.
For prescription drugs. Ours would come down from $130 to $20. Theirs would go from 10 to 20, the world being a bigger place. And it was unbelievable, but the countries wouldn't do it. So I called the countries. I said, if you don't do it, then I'm going to put a tariff on you. And the tariff's going to be 20 times more than the cost that you're having to pay for fair health care. And every one of them said, sir, we agree with you 100%. We would be honored to do it. It was really rather amazing. We could never do it. So think of that. You have most favored drug prices. Your drug prices are going to go down like from $100 to $10. Nobody can believe it. And we can't get the fake news to write about it. It's the biggest thing to happen in medicine. It's the biggest thing to happen in healthcare. And I cannot get the New York Times, I cannot get anybody to write about it. When we got it done and we announced it, it was on a page way in the back of the New York Times. Same with others. They don't want to talk about it. You know why? Because it's so good. It's the biggest thing to happen. Over the past 12 months, almost every promise I made to you right here in 2024 has been kept. I've kept all my promises and much more. I mean, I've given you much more than I gave you promises, and I produced much more than I said I was going to produce. I gave you the largest tax cuts in American history, cutting taxes across the board in the great, big, beautiful bill. And as I told you, I mean, who would have gotten you?
I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch this to hopefully one with a little bit better audio. This one's coming straight from the White House. And it's a little forward as well. So if the market reacts, we'll see it in real time.
Any senior should be voting for. So good. With the beautiful words, made in the USA. In other words, we're only letting that take place if the car is made like in Detroit or in the USA. Our tax cuts also provided 100% bonus depreciation on all new equipment and capital investments, meaning that for any manufacturer looking to bring production back to America, you can
That's
write
weak
it
as well.
all off, everything. Not in 38 years, not in 44 years, in 1 year. You write the whole thing off in 1 year. That's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest thing. That's the big job producer. And I've cut an unprecedented number of burdensome regulations. We're number one in the history of our country in cutting regulations. I promise to cut 10 old regulations for every one new regulation. So if we put on a regulation, the only way I'll allow it to happen is if the secretary, like Scott Bessent, cuts 10 old regulations. But instead, last year we actually cut 129 regulations for every one that we put in. Think of that. So nobody.
Okay, I got a way better audio one. Okay, here we go.
Affordably, they make it impossible for a car to really work right, ever. And I revoked the California emissions waiver to stop San Francisco communists from regulating automobiles all over our nation, all over our world. Boy, I have done so much for the car industry. It's crazy. Nobody thought it was possible to do this. And that's why your industry, and not everybody's in the car industry. How many people are in the car industry in this room, in one way or another? That's a lot, relatively. It's not bad. Another urgent priority for bringing down the cost of living is to stop the colossal fraud that is bleeding American taxpayers absolutely dry. The fraud being committed by the Somali population in Minnesota. Have you heard of them? They're lovely people. Is monumental. And California, Illinois, New York, and others are just as bad. Our country has been losing over $500 billion to fraud every single year, but those days are over. We have the best group you've ever seen assembled going after fraud. In Minnesota, we're cracking down on the Somali scams, ending the brazen and shameless theft of taxpayer dollars. Well, it's going on in Maine, too, with Somalis. You know, and they don't take our ships anymore. You know why? We hit them with the same missile that we used to hit the drug dealers coming in with the boats. You know, we have drugs coming in by sea down 97%. You've seen that? 97%. And we're trying we're really trying hard to find out who the hell is the other 3%. But we have them down 97%. And we're going to start hitting them by land, too. The hard part is done. By sea, nobody's coming. It hasn't been great for the fishing industry, however. Those that have a fishing boat, they're having a hard time getting customers. But you can't have everything. Nobody wants to go on boats. Nobody wants to go like 25 miles an hour. When you see a boat with 5 engines on the back of it going 65 miles an hour, and it's loaded up with hundreds of bags that you see cellophane with white, typically it's not fishing. How about the couple of submarines we took down? We took out 2 submarines, and the Democrats say they were fishing. No, they were submarines. They were actually, they build a very fast, it's a drug-carrying submarine. They have a lot of money. And we took them out, and the Democrats claimed that they were fishing. We shouldn't ruin people's beautiful fishing journey. It's unbelievable what we have to go through. It's really a shame, actually. We froze it all, children's payments to those states that we're talking about, and we will now require proof of attendance in order to receive federal funding for childcare or any of that. How about all these childcare places in Minnesota where there is no children? They go there, they get paid millions and millions of dollars. The biggest operation in all of Minnesota had no children. And we pay millions of dollars. They're scammers. They're scammers. They always will be. And we're getting them out, and we're not going to pay them. We're not going to pay Minnesota. Right, Scott? We're not paying Minnesota any more money for that, any of that crap. It's a big scam. It's a giant scam run by an incompetent, crooked governor. He's an incompetent, crooked guy. And also, we're freezing any and all welfare payments going to illegal immigrants that will start effective immediately. So when illegals come into California, Gavin Newsom, they come into California, and they send us bills for people coming in. We're not paying it. So we're working on that very strongly. Just don't pay it. As Nancy Reagan would say, just say no. Remember Nancy Reagan, just say no to drugs. It's a little more difficult than that, I guess, right? But just say no. Additionally, from this moment forward, if you're on public assistance, like almost all Somalis are, did you see where 94% of them are in public assistance? You can't wire money out of the country back to your bank account from where you came. But more importantly, we probably aren't even going to give them the money anymore, the money going to them, because of the tremendous abuse and probably illegality being perpetrated on our country. We're not going to give them the money. We're not giving them the money. It's massive numbers of people are scamming our country. You know, they came from a place with nothing, and they come here and they drive around in Mercedes-Benz. You know, the Mercedes-Benz dealers do well in that area of Minnesota. Can you believe it? They have nothing. They get welfare payments, and they have Mercedes-Benzes. It angers me so much, but we're going to straighten out our country. This was done under Biden and Obama, very much under Obama. It all started under Obama. And we just can't. We've got a great country. We're not going to screw it up. But this was one of the great scams ever. They have the same thing, Somali in Maine. Who would think? I never saw that happening. But in Maine, it's really crooked as hell, too. But it's not just Somali. It is them, but it's not just. There are many other places, many other people. The whole country, if we stop this fraud, this massive fraud, we're going to have a balanced budget. That's how much money you're talking. We'll have a balanced budget without all the growth I'm talking about. And then you add the growth, we got one hell of a country. We're giving 90-day notices to places like California, Scott. Right away, we're going to send out that notice. Who would bill the federal government as people poured into the state to send those people back, because no country can afford to do it. No country can afford to take in millions of people, pay for their education, their health care, their hospitals. You just can't do it. And we all have a heart. You can't do it. But many of those people are murderers. They're people released from jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums. They're people that are drug dealers. They're addicts. Additionally, starting February 1st, we're not making any payments to sanctuary cities or states having sanctuary cities, because they do everything possible to protect criminals at the expense of American citizens. And it breeds fraud and crime and all of the other problems that come. So we're not making any payment to anybody that supports sanctuary cities. We have also suspended nearly 8,000 SBA loans, Small Business Association loans, to suspected scammers in Minnesota, of which there are many. It's a great state. It was a great state. Now it's getting destroyed by that stupid governor. What a stupid guy he is. But he's a crook. I mean, he's an incompetent guy, but he's a crook. He allowed this to go. You can't have corruption on a scale that nobody's ever seen before, and you're sitting as a governor and you don't know what's going on. It's impossible, even though he's a stupid guy. We're investigating large-scale visa fraud, and the Department of Justice has already charged nearly 100 people in criminal conspiracies in Minnesota. They're all over the place. Last week, we announced that I'm creating a brand new division at the Department of Justice, a legal strike force led by a really tough, smart new Attorney General for fraud. He's a fantastic young guy. He's so impassioned to do this properly. We intend to imprison any fraudster, politician, or public official involved in these sick plots to loot and pillage our country. Think of that Ilan Omar. She lives in Somalia. They don't have a government. They don't have a military. They don't have police. They don't have anything. All they have is murder and robbing ships, bringing in ships, pirates. That's stopped. Same missile, ping. That's the end of them. It's amazing how that can stop corruption. Those missiles, they never miss, you know. The same one, exactly the same one. But think of it. She comes from a country with nothing, and she comes here and she tells us about our Constitution. I have a constitutional right to rip off the country. I guess she's a total scam artist. Anybody knows it. How do you let her get away with it? AOC +3. She was one of the three. They're all scammers. They're so bad for our country. They're so bad for our country. Our ICE operation in Minnesota, for example, is finding hundreds of killers, violent predators, and child rapists, some of the worst criminal offenders anywhere in the world, murderers all over the place. All we want to do is get them out. Did you see the pictures that we put up? Hundreds of them. Murderers wanted for murder, wanted for the worst drug selling. One of them is one of the biggest drug dealers in the world. And vicious, sells bad drugs too. Bad drugs, like if you take a tiny little morsel, your child is dead. And we're getting them. But it's hard to get them because they make it so impossible for you. And you wonder why. Why would they do that? You know, do they want to live with murderers? Do they want to live with these people that are emptied out from prisons? They have a lot of people. One of the reasons I was so angry with Venezuela, they emptied their prisons almost entirely into the United States of America. Tren de Aragua was the gang, one of the worst, probably the most violent gang there is anywhere in the world, they say. We get them out. We've got a lot of them out already, but we're getting them out. We're also going to revoke the citizenship of any naturalized immigrant from Somalia or anywhere else who is convicted of defrauding our citizens. We're going to get them the hell out of here fast. And if you come to America to rob Americans, we're throwing you in jail and we're sending you back to the place from where you came. We're throwing you right in jail. And they know it too. And one of the reasons they're doing these fake riots, I mean, they're just terrible. I mean, you see it's so fake. Shame, shame, shame. You see the woman, that's all practice. They go practice. They go to areas, they take hotel rooms and they all practice together. It's a whole scam. We're finding out who's funding all this stuff too. We pretty much know. But in conclusion, as we liberate our country from this cultural scourge and the plague of corruption and fraud, we'll rediscover the natural energy and native spirit that truly makes America great again, like we're doing with Detroit and Michigan. If we get rid of fraud and do our job properly on the trillions that are being extorted out of our country from corrupt and incompetent governors like Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, and Tim Walz, we will very soon have a balanced budget, and that's the kind of money that we're talking about. We're talking about massive amounts of money. Our country wasn't built by people who tried to lie and cheat and scam their way to success. It was built by legends like Henry Ford, Henry Dow, Thomas Edison, the Kellogg brothers, Alfred P. Sloan, the founder of General Motors, men who lifted up American workers and strengthened our nation beyond even belief. And we're doing the same exact thing right now. I think we're doing it even better. This is the fierce spirit of patriotic free enterprise that we're now unleashing once again. We are unleashing it like maybe never before. Together we have turned the page forever on the failed left-wing model that makes our America poor, desolate, and makes people feel sorry for us. That's what we had. We had a country where our leader was laughed at and our country was scorned. We had a country that was laughed at. They laughed at us 2 years ago. They laughed at us. They thought we were fools. They thought we were stupid people. Now we're seeing that they're not the smart ones. We are. But we have a great America, and we're going to enrich it. And foreign nations, foreign migrants, criminal fraudsters, and corrupt politicians are not going to play a role anymore. They're going to be in jail. Under the Trump administration, we're reclaiming America's dignity, rebuilding America's wealth, and we're putting the productive, hardworking American citizen at the center of every single thing that we do. They were the ones that built America, and they will build it up again, and that's what they're doing at levels nobody thought was possible. So today, after less than 1 year, our border is secure. Remember, they talked about the border, how bad? In 3 weeks, I didn't go to Congress. I said, secure our border. And they did. Remember Biden, he said, I have to get approval from Congress. Had nothing to do with Congress, had to do with respect. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our economy is booming like I think you'll see soon, like never before. Our military is strong and unprecedented. I rebuilt our military in my first term. Our workers are thriving and our auto industry is returning to the country where we all began and where it all began, and frankly, a country that we love. The United States is winning again, and we're rapidly making America and the great state of Michigan greater and more prosperous than ever before. I want to again thank the Detroit Economic Club. You do a fantastic job, so respected. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay. I wasn't really going to talk about anything after that anyway. I'm already past my show's time, but I was going to listen to that anyway. And there wasn't too many nuggets that I was hoping for something to be said. There were a couple small things. Jerome Powell kills every single rally that the market tries to go up on. Yeah. I want a Fed chief to put rates down on good news. He stated that as well. But yeah, nothing too crazy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are new here, I do a daily live stream every single day at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Try to do for about an hour and a half. Sometimes we go over. Who knows? This time we did 2 hours. Really do appreciate all of your time. I'm going to start doing some more due diligence. We're getting into earnings, so I want to get a little bit more accustomed to names like Coinbase and eToro and OSS and well, IREN maybe. Let's keep it on sort of a side for now. But I'll just be doing, more due diligence, and that's exactly what I was doing over on my other screen here, just looking through eToro a little bit. So hopefully I can make some more videos on some different names, which might not catch as much views, but will make us smarter investors over time. Thank you all so much for watching. Really do appreciate your time. But bye for now.